Can you turn my speakers on? It's a different one.
Office of Denver Edmonds can help you with your needs.
Many dogs are now used to the noise, sights, and smells of fireworks and will react.
As a
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Awesome new show. Lots of great stuff going on this week. Brand new month, all kind of things happening. We got the brand new market numbers in from last month, and they're very, very interesting. We saw significant decline in prices finally for condos, over 10% decline, actually 11% plus. We saw decline prices for single family houses. We'll talk about that. We knew that was coming. We talked about that, predict that. We'll kind of look at what's going on, and we'll just dive deep into those numbers, kind of look at, hey, what's going on overall. The good news is we had a little bit of a dip in interest rates, a 3-month low, which is awesome. So a lot more people jumping in. Properties going to contract, which has been good news overall. We'll break down how many properties went under contract the last 7 days. Obviously, with having a holiday weekend and things going on, a lot of people are in town, right? It's one of the busiest weeks of the year. We have people personally who've been watching properties for months and months, coming in town, looking to buy stuff, combine things together. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the main thing that's driving what's happening right now. There's a lot of pain, right, in the marketplace. There's a lot of people who are struggling to get the property sold. A lot of agents that are struggling. It's just a lot of headwinds, a lot of difficulty. And it has really to do with interest rates, right? Interest rates remain high. A lot of people are fatigued with that. A lot of sellers are locked in to where they're at based on interest rates being so far away from where they're locked in at, which is keeping inventory low. Buyers are hesitant because rates are high. So it's one of those things we'll look at kind of what's going on. We had a big meeting last week before with Jerome Powell. We'll talk about what kind of happened with that, what the data was, what he said. There's a lot of pressure for him to lower rates, which will obviously indirectly help mortgage rates, but he's been very, very, very stubborn. We'll talk about what he said, what predicted. We'll just dig into that because that's what's going to open the floodgates. You get us back to 6.5 and below for average rates. You need so many more people to jump back in. We'll talk about that and really kind of look at predictions of what's the actual data say prediction-wise, percentage-wise, what a rate cut happening in July and what the rate cut happening in September is in the next couple of Fed meetings. We get all the data for you, all the great stuff there as usual. Some amazing success stories. Our team's been absolutely crushing it, burning the candle at both ends, hustling our butts off. Like I said, making 10,000 phone calls a week as a team, taking care of clients in town. So a couple success stories where people had their property listed with someone else, did not get sold. We were able to come in and get that job done. And it's something we've been doing for years and years, something we're very, very good at. And we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about what to do if your property does not sell, right? There's a couple options you have there. In terms of what to do. This is a national article that came out, and it's very accurate. It's kind of what to do, what to reevaluate, what to look at overall with that. And also, as usual, we have a large fund looking to buy properties, looking also to buy businesses, specifically looking to buy any service businesses, termite, pest control. That's something we're looking to buy, but also properties we buy very, very fair price, both commercial and residential. We have millions of dollars looking to deploy to buy those properties to make it a seamless, easy transaction. If you want to be a part of that, reach out, call me. Also, we're the heat of summer. I've been talking about this for a while, but we had doubled down on marketing. While many agents are running for the hills, we have been doubling down. We have not cut spending yet. We have continued to double down and are looking to add more people to our team who want to serve clients at the highest level, who feel like there may be a level 10 or level 8, person, right, in a level 2 opportunity. And so that's something that we have a full real estate school. We can get you scholarship, get you licensed, trained up with our amazing training and support and systems that we have here. And so if you want to be a part of that, reach out to me personally. You can also learn more at sloanscholarship.com, but lots of great stuff we'll talk about today.
For any new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Absolutely, Rick. And that's the whole reason we do the show. And I made a promise to talk about it every single week, just because it's by far the only thing that matters. Like, I can talk about interest rates, and I can talk about sales, and I can talk about a lot of the cool stuff, the tactical stuff. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter unless the consumer understands one thing. The single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller or a home buyer comes to one thing only. And that thing is the agent that you choose, period. People make such a large mistake, and I see it every week. Just saw it last week, saw the week before that, saw it this week. I told you guys a horror story about my neighbor, which I maybe if I have time, I'll share a little bit about. They totally listed the property wrong. They just did so many things wrong in terms of what they did. Cost lady almost $250,000 in equity, harmed our neighborhood in terms of comps out there, just by having the agent who did not execute at the level that was possible and even understand the data of an off-market property just sold down the street for much more money. And so there's just so many things you don't realize is they make this mistake of just looking at agents, real estate agents, as a commodity, and it could not be any further than the truth. That's like saying everybody on Wall Street's the same, right? Every stockbroker is the same, every doctor's the same, every lawyer is the same. And it could not be any further than truth. Anybody's been to court before, you find out real quick they're not the same, right? Anybody that's had a significant illness, you find that, guess what? Those doctors are not the same. If I have a life-threatening illness that I get, the last thing I want is to go to some doc in the box down the street who's just going to look at me for 5 minutes and write a prescription, right? I want an absolute amazing doctor who specializes in that type of medicine, who's obsessed with learning the details so they can make sure they can figure out what's going on, right? Same thing from an attorney standpoint. If I'm sued for everything I owned or I'm charged with a crime I did not commit, the last thing I want some part-time attorney who my friend recommended, who also does something else on the side, who's tried a few cases last year, right? I want the absolute best, most badass attorney who specializes in that type of law, who's obsessed with what they do, who's one of the best in the country, so they can give me a huge competitive advantage in the courtroom, right? You should demand the same level of excellence for your largest asset, but for some reason people don't. They just go, my friend or friend. It's both success stories I talk about today. Guess what? They're with somebody who's an average agent. We call them an AFA, an average frustrated agent. Had it listed. They did nothing to the property, had a couple of showings, wasted 6, in one case, 7 months, their entire life, only to get nothing. And so then they were able to come to us. We got it done in a matter of weeks. And so the reality is the agent you choose matters. And so we wanted to share that every single week, that the single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent you choose. And why that is because when you have a large product that you're selling, like a house, aka the largest asset most people own, it has a very long sales cycle. And so there's so many nuances that make or break the home sale. Specifically, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one of those is handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, and there's 118, and you have one person trying to handle all of those on one listing, and in many cases 5 or 10 listings, guess what? There's no possible way they can execute on all of them, much less at a high level. And so what you find is they end up doing the 3 Ps. They promise you will to get the listing. They'll tell you anything and everything to get the listing. In my case, we've had some competitors tell people I was dead twice, that they told them that I passed away in order so they didn't call us, which is unbelievable, right? But these agents out there will say anything to get the listing. Second thing they do is they put it into MLS, and 3, they pray that someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're on the street trying to get the next listing because they know only 50% of their listings sell. They got to get more just to survive. And so it's a crazy business from the inside that costs the consumer the most amount of money, right? You don't realize all those things. Hey, there's only a 50% chance it sells. They're out getting more listings instead of servicing your listings, and you're the one that has to pay the price. And so what I did when I got in the business, I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a way to treat this like a real business, not a bunch of just agents that are like wild animals, trying to take each other's business and not really caring about each other. And so I looked at what people did outside of real estate in a traditional brick and mortar business. And I said, how do we bring those type of principles with predictable, repeatable success into real estate? And that's exactly what we did. We designed this thing called the guaranteed sold system, the only proven system, sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. And how we do that is we understand every single variable and we back it up every single step with 2 things: a team of people where you have a specialist. Each person specializes in what they do, not some generalist who's trying to do everything, right? If I'm one single agent trying to juggle all the balls, it's impossible to be good at anything. And you back it up with technology. We spent massive amounts of money in technology to make sure every single variable is managed proactively to create maximum leverage for our client. And so you stack those dominoes up, 118 of them, and we create maximum leverage at 0.1, maximum leverage at 0.2, maximum leverage 0.3, and you stacked it up at 118. It creates a massive gap between us and everyone else at the end of the day, and it allows us to give our client a competitive advantage in the marketplace. For example, our team makes 10,000 plus phone calls a week to buyers that we have. We obviously want to direct those buyers to our listing because that's what we're in business to do, is sell properties and make money, right? And so we sell listings, make more money. And so that's what they're incentivized to do. And so with that, it's impossible for one single agent to make 10,000 phone calls a week or have 80,000 buyers they're working with at one certain time. And so those small nuances and small differences, when you turn those knobs, create a massive gap. And that's how you sell properties faster and for more money. For buyers out there, guess what? Same exact process. Very difficult right now. It's a very weird, difficult market for anybody that's been in the business a long time, much less a couple of years. And so you want to have an expert who understands what's going on. They know the nuances of the market. They know what's going on from insurance to zoning to the ability to get your return on your money, whatever it is you're looking to do. You want to have an expert who understands the marketplace. And so with that, I designed this thing called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as negotiation and home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully with the most amount of money still in your pocket. And so if you listen to this show, you owe it to yourself to at least learn about it. I actually created a documentary where you can learn more about this. It breaks down everything we do, what makes us different. And it just really shows behind the scenes, behind the curtains of how real estate works, how we work. And I want you to go check that out. It's at blakesloan.com. You can also call me today, 843-808-SOUL. We're hustling this weekend, working as we do every weekend. Give us a call. We'll take a quick break right back in a second.
Hey, Sean Hannity here with the only real estate agent in your market that I recommend, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. And thanks for joining me today. You know, a lot of people may be thinking about selling their home, but they want to make sure they're getting the most money possible. What options do you have available to make selling a home easier?
Hey, Sean, we have 3 unique and innovative options for home sellers right now. First, we have a program for maximum convenience, where I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars looking to buy homes at a fair price in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Trenton area. Or we have a program for maximum speed, where I can match your property up with over 100,000 plus active home buyers looking to buy properties here on the Grand Strand. Or 3, maximum value. We have a proven system that'll sell your home twice as fast and for the 5 to 15% more money than traditional methods.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, take cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
We use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan, Real Estate Show. Brand new market update. All kind of stuff going on right now. I'll tell you, it's interesting. It's wild. It's like the Wild West. We've seen so many good things happen, so many bad things happen. It's been wild because you're seeing just there's a lot of stuff selling, a lot of stuff not selling. And so it's a very, very interesting marketplace right now. And it's happening across the country, right? It's one of those things that it's very difficult for condos right now, very difficult for certain pockets and price ranges of single family homes. There's a lot of headwinds, right? A lot of buyer resistance, and it's happening. You'll see a lot of national articles now that are saying, hey, inventory has finally come back, where there's been a lot less inventory in previous years. Inventory has finally come back, but just a lot of buyers are not biting on it. And again, that a lot has to do with affordability. Even though, interest rates are coming down a little bit, there's still a massive gap between what's affordable for people to purchase and also affordable in their life right now, right? This inflation has taken a big impact on a lot of people, at least from what I'm hearing. And it's just not a lot of extra discretionary income. And so it's really difficult for them to buy a lot of things like second homes, investment properties, and even a new property. And so we'll talk about that. But the thing is, there's still a lot of good stuff selling. We're still selling a lot of stuff. It's a little more difficult for sure. But looking at MLS numbers is actually pretty good. We have 2 types of numbers we talk about. We talk about the front windshield numbers. Hey, that's what's going to happen. What's going to close right in the next month or two. That's what actually went under contract the previous 7 days. It's really the most valuable number I track because it allows me to keep a pulse of what's happening real time. Now, some of those deals could fall through, but if I keep a spreadsheet every morning, you see it fluctuate up and down. We're definitely seeing some pretty good numbers right now. The last 7 days, 496 properties under contract for 185,875. So really, let's say 186 million. Last week's show was 536 for 196 million, so it's $10 million short with that. But we'll see it bounce back around. I think as rates have come back down a little bit, you will see that recover, which is pretty well. A couple of big properties, 2 properties over $2 million, which is awesome. 17 properties over $1 million. 91 properties over 500,000. So lots of big stuff still moving. And inventory is up. It's been climbing steadily. Right now, 1,741 active single-family homes in Horry County. Last week's show was 1,731 active homes in Horry County. So a 10-plus home difference were added to the balance, but it's still pretty good in that numbers. Anytime we're near 200 million under contract in a 7-day period, market is doing very, very well. The challenge is some are just taking a lot longer, right? You're seeing average days on market take longer in many cases. You're seeing a lot of different things kind of bounce around based on price range overall, but we're seeing it bounce back a little bit, which is great news. In terms of sales numbers, if you look at closed sales, that's our rear view mirror numbers, what happened last month. And so they closed in the month of June. You went under contract usually 36 days prior to that. And so sales last month up for resale homes, up 6.2%. So great news there overall. And that's versus the same month last year. So if you look at June of 2024, there was 484 properties under contract. 484 properties closed this year, 514. And just to kind of, as a nuance, June was one of the worst months of summer last year. The best month of last year was in May. So that's something that we'll see there overall. Sales price, though, this is a major number. Sales price down for single-family homes, down 5.1% for average sale price, down 474, 259. Median price, flat, 0.0 change. Months of supply, up even more, 23% right now. There's 5.2 months of inventory on the market. Anytime we hit the 6-month threshold, that's when it switches from a seller's market to a buyer's market. So we're getting close to that as inventory has continued to climb overall. Just kind of give you an example of back when things were in 2022. April 2022, there was 1 month of inventory. And so 1.2 months of inventory overall. Right now, we're at 5.2. And so that's something you got to keep in mind when you're looking at how long it's taking to sell. Right now, average days on market is 106 days on market. And so a little bit less than 50% of properties are actually selling. And so we run the numbers, about 10% of the listings per month actually go under contract in the MLS right now for homes. And so that's something you got to keep in mind where you do the math on that, right? Less than 50% actually end up selling overall. Some end up relisting, some end up expiring. It just depends on what their strategy is overall. But the ones that do sell, so that let's say there's 100 homes that were listed, right, over a 6-month period. About 50 of those do sell. And if they do sell, they take about 106 days on market, which is longer than most people think, right? And so that's something to keep in mind overall. Showings per listing right now, the average showing per listing is down 12% from where it was last year. So the average listing, an entire 6-month period, gets 3.5 showings per listing. The amount of showings it takes to get a contract on average is 12. So you need almost 4 times the amount of showings than the average listing gets to get a contract. And that's why you see so many properties not selling. The ones they do is taking over 100 days to get that done. And so that's why you need expert. That's why you can't list with some part-time agent. That's why you can't list with somebody who's a friend of a friend or a friend's cousin, right? You need somebody who lives, eats, breathes this stuff, who has resources and money that can back it up to make sure they can put eyeballs on it to be able to drive traffic. Because the only math problem that really matters as a home seller is showings per listing and showings to contract. And so, like I mentioned, it takes 12.1 showings to get a contract. The average listing gets 3.5. You can see the problem there, right? You have to be able to bridge that gap somehow. And your friend's friend who just got their license cannot move that needle by just putting it in the MLS. And so that's probably the most valuable piece of data we can really talk about. Overall condo market still getting absolutely crushed. Sales not as bad. They're only down 5.8% from the same month last year. Sales price, though, average sale price for condos down 11.3% at $261,000. It's bounced around the last couple months. If you look at in March of this year, it's $249. This May, it was $286. This last month, $261. So it dropped about $25,000 in 1 month for the average sale price of condos. And again, it depends on where they're buying at, what part of the beach. Obviously, some are on the ocean, some are efficiencies. There are former hotel rooms. So it just matters on the type. And you always want to break that down based on what type of condo you have, what area you're in, things like that. Supply, 8.6 months of supply right now. It's actually down a little bit from where it was last month, where May was 8.9, June 8.6. So interesting piece there overall. It's still up 34.4% from where it was last year. And again, days on market right now, the average days on market it takes for a condo to sell of the ones that do sell is 119 days, up 25% from last year. Showings per listing right now, even worse than the homes, 1.9 showings per listing. So on average, if you give a 6-month listing, they average 2 showings the entire time, which is not good, right? You're talking 1 showing every 3 months for condos, which is why most of them are sitting in the market. The amount of showings it takes to get a contract on average is 9.0 showings. And so you can see the same math problem there. Average listing gets 2 showings the entire time, but it takes 9 showings to get a contract on average. Why is that? Well, it's just the data, right? You have to, for example, you need 9 buyers to get through before somebody writes a contract and it goes under contract. How do we know that number? Because there's a company that basically handles all the showings for the MLS, and they know when you're booking showings, once it goes pending, it no longer can take showings, and that's how they track that data. And so that's just something that's kind of important for people to know and be able to see with that. And so that's a key part there. Overall, with that, again, we talked about supply. The key part here that's really kind of holding all this up has been interest rates, right? We saw a great break this week. There's been lots of pressure from the Mr. Pulte. I can't remember his name. I think he's head of Fannie Mae right now. He's put massive pressure on Jerome Powell. I think I mentioned last week's show. There's been 8 separate rate cuts in Europe to our 1 cut. We're basically one of the highest countries in the world, part of central bank that has the way we're keeping rates at for the overnight Fed rate. Last week's show, 6.72%. This week, great news, down at 6.67% for a 30-year fix, which is awesome news. A 15-year fixed rate right now in the 5s, which is awesome, 5.91. A 30-year jumbo loan, 6.80%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.19%. And a 30-year VA loan, 6.2%. And so once we get to 6.5 below, my coaches and I and my colleagues and I that are part of large teams across the country feel like that's when you're going to see buyers really jump back in. It happened early this year, early in March, when people started to jump back in when rates came back down. And it's just a lot of sellers are just held up, locked in by rates. It will kind of unlock some more inventory. It'll also kind of unlock some more buyers who are wanting to buy. It's just not affordable for them right now overall. And so that's something we'll keep looking at. Here's the one thing we'll talk about. So just kind of give you some recap on kind of what happened previously, right? There was a Fed meeting, right? Jerome Powell came out, gave an interview, just talks about what's happening right now. Right now, the overall Fed rate is between 4.25, 4.50 with that. And so Jerome Powell emphasized in the last meeting that he's not in a rush to cut rates, right? Although cuts from the table, he's waiting to see actual inflation trends and employment data before acting. Obviously, you guys probably saw a lot of stuff Trump put out that just talked about lowest inflation since 2020. And the one thing that Jerome Powell came out and said in his interview is he's waiting to see the impact that tariffs have on inflation, which is really just kind of being a very difficult, we all believe kind of politicization of just kind of, he could definitely cut rates, right? They cut the rates back before the election in 2024 when inflation was even higher. And so one of those things he talks about, he also said, if inflation stays the same, we'll cut sooner rather than later, but I won't predict a specific meeting. He said, quote, no rush. And so that's a challenge everybody's running into. If you look at, we have this site that we all track daily. Wall Street uses a lot on certain, it's called the Fed Watch tool. Right now, there's a 75% chance there's not going to be any change in rates on the July 30th Fed meeting. There's basically a 25% chance that they will reduce the rates a quarter point. So not looking very good overall, which means a little more pain in the marketplace, right? If you're a home buyer, probably stay real the same where it's at right now. Thankfully, rates have come down a little bit in the last week or so, which has been great news overall. Not sure what's going to happen with that. It's going to really come out what the next CPI report does, which is inflation. It could jump back up. It could actually stay there. Hopefully we'll see. Right now, though, the September 17th meeting, which is the next one after that right now, which is great. There's a 93% chance that they're going to ease rates, which is great. Ideally, a quarter point is what we're looking at overall. There's a 23% chance it could be a half point reduction, which is great news. And so what that means is, and also in October right now, they're showing a 96% chance of easing interest rates. And so what does that mean? You're going to see it staying kind of where it is for the next month at least. We're going to see that come down from buyers. The one thing to think about is when rates do go back down, you're going to see a lot more buyers jump in, which means you're going to probably see some prices jump up a little bit or more competition. If you want to buy, you want to kind of get in when there's a little bit less competition. For sellers out there, you got to keep in mind here for Myrtle Beach is a little bit seasonal. So we got to keep that balance in and kind of what happens in the fall. And so we can easily guide you through that overall. But good news is there's some future rate reductions, which will be very, very valuable for us overall. I'll just go quick and I'll just skip that next break, Rick. So we got a couple minutes with that. Really quick, amazing hot buyers alert. I'll tell you one thing different with us. Our team work with a ridiculous amount of home buyers here on the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand area, anywhere from $250,000 to $4.4 million. If you're thinking about selling, please call us immediately, 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we've been doing for a long time is putting our money where our mouth is. I tell you, a lot of agents, like I mentioned, they just market once they get the listing. They get the sign in the yard, they put the MLS lot box on, then they start marketing with us. We're spending $100,000 a month plus in marketing before you ever call us. Why does it matter? If you remember that earlier math equation with showings per listing versus showings a contract, we have right now active home buyers with a username, password account on our website, 79,017 active home buyers. Again, 79,017 active home buyers from all across the globe. And so what we do is our team calls them every single day. We make 10,000 plus phone calls a week, every single week. And their job is to look at new listings we get and match them up with ones we have, which makes a big, big difference overall. Like right now on the site, I got Tim Carter from Montreal, Quebec, which is awesome. I got John Gillen from Wilkes-Barre, PA. I got Random in North Carolina. I got Birmingham, Alabama, Waltham, Massachusetts, Lancaster, South Carolina, Rock Hill, South Carolina, Wesley Chapel, Florida. I got Jeff Ward from Florence, South Carolina. And so we got from all over the globe. I got somebody here from Germany. I got Loganville, Georgia, Old Town, Maine. So the reality is we have a global reach. And if you're thinking about selling, you want to go with the people who already have what we call buyers in waiting, especially in a difficult, slow market. You want to have the people who have the buyers on hand. And so what our team does, we have software, we match up buyers and sellers. They are obviously pushing it because we hustle. We're here hustling 6-7 days a week, not out playing golf. We're here getting the job done for our clients in a very difficult marketplace. And so if you're thinking about selling, right, I want you to understand that math equation of like who has the buyers in waiting, who can bring those buyers to me. And that's something that we're very, very good at due to our unique business model. Our unique business model allows us to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. And that's where we bring in the advantage. Obviously, it has to be priced within reason because buyers are smart. They know if it's overpriced or not. But if you want to know more how that works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. Really quick, couple quick success stories. Willie and Arlene, they own an amazing house near the ocean in Surfside. They're looking to sell to move back closer to family in Virginia. They had a property listed with a, quote, friend for over 6 months. They only had 3 showings total in 3 months, which is aligned with those data earlier. Thankfully, they saw our billboards and saw us on TV, Barbara Corcoran, decided to give us a call. I came in, identified the problem, which was marketing. Came in, designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtual walkthrough, drove massive traffic, had it under contract within 2 weeks, blown away by the experience overall, which is awesome. Also, Matt and Debbie had a house listed in Carolina Forest for 7 months. Their previous agent, they're trying to relocate to Georgia, but have been held up by the home getting sold. They were very frustrated, to say the least. Thankfully, an amazing radio listener had them reach out to us. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos. The virtuality walkthrough drove massive traffic, had it under contract within the first week after getting 6 showings. So awesome job there to our team. One of those things that makes a massive difference in terms of who you pick, how it goes. Over how much time we got left, Rick? 1 minute. I'll tell you, avoid the horror story. I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we talked about, my neighbor listed their property, what I believe is about $200,000 to $250,000 below what it's worth. Had it listed online, listed wrong, lot size a little bit off. They had it listed as a septic tank when it was not a septic tank. It's right there on city water and has the ability to get city water. In addition to that, you can have short-term rentals there on the waterway in that location. It was not listed, not mentioned. And so basically, every potential buyer who pay a premium for it would be willing to do it, but they did not know the data. And these small things happen over and over and over and over again. And I see so many home sellers cost themselves so much money every single week. And I could go on for 10 more minutes of these horror stories. But here's the deal. This is your largest asset. Your friends is their largest asset. And so if you do one thing this weekend, have a good time. But if you see anybody thinking about buying real estate or selling real estate, tell them you got to call my buddy Blake. Save me in your phone, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. You can also go and watch the full documentary about what makes us different. If you're curious about it, it's on blakesloan.com. You can also go to sloanrealtygroup.net. And if you always want to come back and watch these shows again, we stream on YouTube, LinkedIn. Just type in Blake Sloan Radio, and we'll see you back here next week at the same time.